going to talk about how I wrote a book. This book right here. I don't even know where to start. I will talk about the process, how I got here, the money I've spent, what I feel like has helped the process, the types of things I paid for versus did it myself, and probably a little bit of advice if you're writing a book or trying to write a book, and how I published it, like where I went through and all that. So my book, it's fiction, like fake names, fake characters, fake events, inspired by reality. So I feel like that was easy for me to write because reality had already happened and I just kind of put a twist on it. It started out with intense emotions, I'll put it that way. Really intense emotions that I felt like I needed to get out, and writing really helped me get those emotions out. But it started with this. So this is the very first version of my book. And wait, let me open this. So you'll see the title is different, but that's what I went with. And I just hand wrote everything, you know. The crazy thing is it's really not that much like text, because later in the editing process, I definitely added a lot to it. It was definitely in the category of like a novella or short story, and then I later had added to it. But I will say what got me to this stage was a few things. And your situation could be totally different, but my situation, I was a recent graduate from college, still trying to figure out where to get a job and all that. I had other jobs, but not in my field. So there was a period where I was unemployed and had time. But if the pandemic taught us anything, it's that having time doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you were missing to do something. There was plenty of things we wanted to do and just didn't, even though we had the time. But I think what really helped was the intense emotion and passion that I had towards saying something. So if there's something you want to have a conversation about, not even thinking like, who's going to read it? Are they going to like what I'm writing? It's just a raw expression and not thinking about it, just letting it out. Because the thinking you can do in the editing phase. So I would say the writing phase is getting words on a paper, just getting it out, let it out. Doesn't have to make sense. If you make a mistake, you just keep writing. Let it flow, let it out, follow the stream of consciousness. It might not make sense. It could make sense later. It's almost like a not thinking stage. The other thing that helped me with this stage was I actually downgraded my phone from a smartphone to a flip phone. And what that did was eliminated a lot of distractions for me, which is like a whole other tangent of like how our phones can be such a problem, but I still needed that same amount of like stimulation and gratification and all that. And that's what happened was I channeled all of that into writing a book. So I would say eliminating distractions was probably the biggest thing that contributed to me actually writing this part. I was unemployed, sad, no distractions from it, needed something to have happening, you know, totally heartbroken, whatever. And what really helped me was writing this, going to a coffee shop every day. And this was easy for me to bring because I didn't need an outlet. I didn't need, you know, I could pick up and move really easily. I didn't need a charger. So this was very portable for me to work on. I'm just a very like pen and paper kind of person, personally. My unemployed routine was wake up, go to a coffee shop, write a chapter, come home, type up a chapter. And that brought me a lot of joy and fulfillment and satisfaction for what I was going through. I started writing this, took a really long break. Because like I said, I was going through a really hard time. I probably wrote a couple chapters, I want to say in a month, and then I took a really long break, and then when I got back to it when I was unemployed and all that, it took me 3 months to write this all. Another thing is this is very different from this. There's been a lot in between the two that has happened and transpired and added and edited out and moved around. So this was just the raw like expression, let it out. So that was the writing portion of it. After this came this. So typed it all up, took it to Staples. It was super cheap to print it. After that has been written, I, got a job, and I went back to having a regular phone because I noticed that my flip phone was so outdated that I wasn't able to, I was trying to get a job, and having a phone that only worked on speaker and couldn't take certain calls and couldn't receive group messages without shutting down 10 times was just not gonna help me get a job. So I eventually did have to re-upgrade to a smartphone. Thankfully, my book had been written though. So yeah, upgraded again to a smartphone, got a job. After work, I would go to a coffee shop to wait out traffic, and meanwhile, I would bring this, and I was starting to read through it and add and go through everything and be like, okay, this didn't really make sense, and just basically edit everything and try to make it all go together, not just be a raw, thoughts, stream of consciousness. As I was going, add a couple things or a couple notes, insert scene, insert scene later about more of this conversation, or insert scene later about more of their dialogue, or, insert more description of the place or something. So I got this edited to the best of my ability. I actually went through a few different print companies to try them out. I forget exactly which one this was. I was not happy with the pricing and the quality. I think it was Lulo, I don't remember. But I took this, edited, and turned it into this. And I do not recommend them because I didn't like the quality of the book. I didn't like that my art, because I did art, and this painting specifically was referenced in the book, and this phrase is referenced in the book anyway. It just didn't look right to me, and I think we can all agree it doesn't look good. But the nice thing is I was able to order a few copies of this, and if you see, I could write directly on them the edits of the book. So that made it really helpful. So I had a coworker who was really good at reading. She just read every break. And my sister is an English teacher. So perfect, right? So I gave them both copies and asked them, can you just read this? Here you go. Read it, write all over it, and give it back to me. And if you have anybody you know who is remotely interested in reading or editing or anything, ask them. Because my coworker, she would complain. Before all of this, she would just complain. Oh, there's this error in this book and all this and that. And I was like, you are definitely going to be my editor. So tried whatever company that was not very happy with it. So this went to this because I went through Amazon KDP. My sister helped me with writing a better back and making this look a little bit better, but again, it doesn't really stand out. But with Amazon KDP, I was able to get this, and I really liked the way it feels. The color of the art is more true to the actual art. Instead of uploading 3 different images, I think I had to do with this one was, oh, what do you want the spine? What do you want the back? What do you want the front? It was a wraparound, which I think looks so much better. You do not have to buy an ISBN. I spent $100-something on an ISBN. If you print through Amazon, they will give you one. If you don't print on Amazon, probably need one. Amazon will give you one for free. Yeah. So years later of me having this book, and I just have never felt satisfied with it. I felt like parts of it just I was embarrassed about or cringed or did not like. It needed a revamp, it needed a rebrand. I was like, okay, yes, this might mean something to me, but I don't think this is going to mean anything to anybody else. So I just wasn't happy with this. Yes, the symbolism means something to me, but it doesn't work for marketing. It doesn't work for looking good. It just needed a revamp. Thankfully, I was really close with somebody who was also a writer and editor. That person really helped me with editing it again. They were a great storyteller. They really helped me with scenery and telling me, oh, this doesn't really make sense, and here's where you can add. I definitely had the advantage of that not costing money. By this stage, I did pay for an editor. I want to say it was $800 to edit this. And her edits were helpful. However, I feel like it was a lot of money. So then we got from this stage to this stage. What happened in between here, I will talk about. Had the friend help me out a lot with the story, with the content, with everything, all the edits, went through it so many times with me. I actually hired a professional because, book covers are important. I learned that. I hired a professional to illustrate the cover, and that is Andy Bridge. He actually illustrated Life of Pi. I found him on Reedsy. So that's where I found my editor and my cover artist on Reedsy. And I'll kind of put that here-ish. I also was thinking about the title, and it means nothing to anybody else but me, but a little bit more descriptive, also a part of the book, makes sense for what the book is about and who the characters are. So I renamed the title to Rainy Day Lover, and that just felt so right. I would say I first started it when I was 21 and finalized it, done when I was 27. But it's not like I worked on it every day, all the time. I've picked it up, put it down, left it alone so many times. I did get a copyright for it, so I believe it's copyright.gov, but I can link the exact website I went through. Everything I did and every website I went through, I can definitely link below and kind of tell you guys step by step, this is what I did. And I'm not saying that those are the best, but I'm saying that those worked for me. I would say for writing too, just write about something you care a whole lot about. What do you feel like you need to say? What excites you? What is a book you would want to read? All of your highest fantasies about a book and dreams and goals, put it there. Make it interesting, So the question is, was it worth it? Yes. Money aside, at the end of the day, it was worth it because of not the monetary stuff, but it was the personal satisfaction of it. The fact that this got me through one of the hardest times of my life is invaluable. I would say monetarily, I have made pretty much my money back. Just selling it to friends and family. I was lucky enough to have an English class teach it, so that was one whole semester of students that purchased and bought my book. And I was a guest speaker for that class too, so that was really cool to kind of talk to them about the writing process. To summarize some of the tips, I would say is when you're writing, don't think about, oh, I said this word wrong, or how do I spell that? Just keep going, just keep writing, just keep letting it out. That's not the phase for that yet. The editing is the phase for the thinking. The writing phase is the letting it out. So let it out in whatever way works for you. Eliminate your distractions, even if that means quitting social media for a little bit or whatever. Whatever works for you, whatever's distracting you the most and is needless, just no. And if you have any friends or anybody who's willing to help you just edit it, ask for their help. If you can trade or whatever, you can work it out with them. Just use your people as much as you can because it can be really pricey. But if you think of the value of the sense of accomplishment, of fulfillment, just weigh your options there. Your financial situation best. The value of these things more than I do to you. The marketing side of it, I can't really help you out too much there because I would say that I easily could have, gone to a local bookstore and done a reading, or even Barnes & Noble, or, could have done an open mic night and all this stuff. But for me, just getting it out, getting it done was what I needed. It is a huge commitment. Time. It's frustrating. The editing process can be really frustrating too. I would say the editing took me 3 years. It was so long. But again, I wasn't working on it all the time. Yep. And then so after the writing phase, then there's the editing phase. And you can add more writing. You can just make it all make sense. Oh, this chapter has elements that would make sense in this chapter, putting the pieces all together. That is when you can be really analytical about it, is in the editing stage. And then there's what print company to go through. I used to buy a bunch of copies and then distribute them myself, but I had to get a seller's permit, and I would just rather do print on demand through Amazon. It's just easier for me personally in my goals. I got a copyright, which did cost money. I did pay for an ISBN. You do not have to pay for an ISBN, so if you're going through Amazon, you could just get one through Amazon. So don't even worry about it. And cover art, if you're an artist, I obviously made my own cover at first, and then just later was I need a professional. I went to a writers group one time for like moral support and ideas, and that was really helpful. Just community, people to talk to, people who had ideas, people who had books and books and books and what worked for them. So if that interests you, that could be a thing. But that's the gist. I hope that was helped answer some questions, maybe helped inspire a little bit. Stage 1, writing. Stage 2, printing and editing. Stage 3, trying different companies and editing. Stage 4, getting closer to the final product, finding a company I liked, and still editing. It's all editing. You can edit forever. At some point, you just have to be like, you know what? I could edit this forever. I could tweak things forever. It's good enough. And stage 5, the final product where I'm happy with it. I don't want to touch it anymore. I think it's done. We're good. Proud of it. Happy about it. Says what I wanted to say. Don't think it's cringe anymore. Probably will be in like 10 years when I reread it, but I think we're good. And if you are interested in what the book is about itself, it's a love story. So it's a romance. It's a little bit about like forbidden love, forbidden romance, people who are in complicated situations, but they love each other, but they can't be together. And it just kind of gets into all that. So there's like love triangle stuff. It's like a whole thing. It's also a philosophical novel about how, one could look at life or go through life and navigate life. And it's just, if you're looking for a juicy read, I wouldn't say it's too spicy or anything, but it's definitely like got Twilight vibes, you know what I mean? Like it might be a little immature, but it's like that romance that's like kind of unhealthy but like also kind of addicting to think about and, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really interesting personally, but I wrote it, so that's very biased. And if you are remotely interested in reading it, the link is down below. So there's 0 pressure there, but if it calls to you, it's there. That is all. I really hope you've enjoyed this story about, not this story, but the story about how I wrote a book. If you're a writer, good luck. Like, proud of you. If you want to do it, you can. If it feels like it keeps coming up for you, you've got it. Like, you're good. But I hope that this helped answer some questions. I tried not to be too verbose about everything, but at the same time, there's a lot to cover, and so I just put it all in one video. But if you have questions, please let me know. And if you've written a book, you're writing another book, like, I'm not an expert, but we can at least talk about it. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later. Bye.